afternoon, DPDers. This is JR. We're back at it again on the car. We've got quite a few tasks we're planning on tackling starting today. As you can see, I've got all my tools laid out here. I've got the car positioned here in the garage, and I also have a space heater because it's cold out. But you know, we cannot use reasons because it's cold to not work in our car. So here's some of the other parts that I've taken off the car so far. That includes the cold air intake box, some special hosing, the brake lights. What else we have here? Some connections and fasteners. And so now we're about to start on the front part of the car on the suspension. So this week we're focused on the suspension. So this is all part of phase one. I don't know if you pay attention, you picked up on this, but I added some new vents to come out the hood. And so we're going to go now take off the front wheels. And we are going to start tackling on improving the suspension. Now, one of the things I've gone out and done is I went and bought me another set of jack stands, as you can see. And so, you know, I recommend again, when you're sizing your jack stands, that you're getting the highest number of tons it can handle, well above your car's weight. You just never know what's going to happen. And what I've done is I've gotten a second set because I'm going to do each axle at a time. So I'm going to do the front axle, and I'm going to put the first set where I traditionally put the jack stands, and then I'm going to put the second set underneath the front of the car too. And that's going to be raised up higher. And so the point is that it's a safety precaution. So I have multiple ways that this car is being its weight being held up in the air while I'm underneath it. So I won't have any concerns with a jack stand failing. And so that's really key. And so so I've got two sets now of 6-ton rated jack stands. I've finished putting together my little wheelie seat here so I can sit down on it and roll around while I'm working, and allow me to you know, rest my knees, rest my backside as I'm continuing to work on the car, be in a great position to especially take off these wheels and tires in a seated position. And you know, the floor is still cold even though I've had this space heater in here and it's been running for several hours. I even have the door to the house open to help move some of the air back and forth to help heat up the garage. So I'm using the house to kind of help do that as well, help regulate the heat in here. And then of course I've got my trusty jack there, 3-ton weighted jack, low profile. Again, remember, get a low profile one because you want to be able to get underneath this car even if it's got a flat tire in the future. And of course, if it's got a flat tire, then the car is going to be even lower than it normally is. Right now, the car sits about 6 inches off the ground, where I start jacking the car up. But if I got a flat tire here, they would certainly come down to about 3 inches or so. So you need a low profile jack in case that ever happens to be the case. You need to change the tire when you're out there at the racetrack. I don't suspect you're gonna get a flat tire here in the garage. But when you're out on the racetrack, you want to bring all your tools with you, and you got this low profile jack, that's going to come in handy. I believe it really would. So one of the things, as you can see, again, you know, I've got the new tires and wheels mounted and balanced, so they're ready to go on the car, but I'm not going to put them on yet. So I still have the standard equipment for the GT Performance Pack wheels and tires combination here on the Mustang. You know, it's the Pirelli P0s are still on the car with its traditional wheels. But as you can see over here, these are already mounted and balanced and ready to go. So I can put them on, but there's no need for me to put them on until I get the suspension changed out. So we'll save them. We'll save the rubber, but we'll go ahead and take these tires and wheels off and start working on the suspension. You know, I want to repeat this one more time for you guys. It's important that you plan this out so that you're doing these actions on this car one time. Okay, so you're not constantly, anytime you buy something new because you didn't have the money earlier on to buy at that time, I would suggest waiting. I would suggest waiting so that you can do it all at once. So that's what I plan on doing here with the suspension on this car. I've got everything in. Everything's in. So all I gotta do is take off these tires and wheels once, start taking off the brake calipers once, so forth and so on. Take off the shocks once, so forth and so on. Okay? So we want to do everything once, so because when we go back in and we start adding this stuff and we start torque wrenching the stuff down to whatever it is, 149 foot-pounds or 30 foot-pounds or whatever the book says we need to torque these things down to, we torque them down once, we get them perfectly set up, and then it's done. It's finished, okay? And you won't touch it again, all right? And so we're going to get this suspension installed, and then we're going to take it to an alignment shop, get it all lined up, and then we're done. We're done. And that's because we got everything up front. So plan this out. Understand ultimately where you're trying to take your car, plan it out, save up for it, and then get all the stuff together before you start taking it apart. Because, you know, again, you're just going to cause yourself heartache later down the road if you're constantly taking things on and off and you don't retorque them back correctly, or you forget to, or whatever, and then you're going to have problems out there on the track. You're going to have problems. So let's try to alleviate that. Let's plan ahead. You don't have to put all this different suspension bits that I'm putting on my car. You can do half of this work. You can do a quarter of it work. Whatever that work is, whatever you decide that you need to improve upon your car. You know, a Camaro has got a different setup than a Mustang. And so, you know, the Camaro has other issues that the Mustang doesn't. Okay? So the things that I'm changing out on this car are not necessarily the same things you got to change out on your Camaro, your Challenger, your Corvette, right? Every car is different. Every car setup is different. You know, as an example, you may have bought a car that's got magnerized suspension, okay? So you're probably not going to change out any suspension bits. At least most of them you probably aren't, because you got magnerized suspension, which is a very great, you know, is an awesome suspension setup. So why would you change the shocks on that, right? But maybe you would add a brace, a bracket, or maybe you might change some bushings. But the point is that every car is different. You don't have to mimic what I'm doing, but certainly whatever ultimately your plan is for changing, especially when it comes to suspension stuff, get it all set up, get it all laid out, understand exactly how you're going to proceed, and ranking of having things installed first, and so that you know what you're going to take off first, you know what you're going to put on first, and then work your way backwards, okay, to where when you finally put the brake calipers back on, you finally put the wheels and tires back on, you're done. That axle is done. There's nothing else that needs to be done to that axle. You move on to the next axle. So we're going to do the front first. I think the front is going to be less complicated than the rear. And I'm a novice at this, okay? I've been studying, I've been paying attention, I've been taking notes, but I'm a novice at it, all right? So I found, especially when I was doing the vinyl striping, you know, start on the hood, start on the easiest part of whatever it is that you're installing, so you can build confidence in what you're doing, you can build technique, you get used to these tools. You know, it's not like I got a wrench in my hand every week, okay? So I'm having to get used to these new tools that I've bought, how to use them properly, because you can watch all the videos you want. I mean, I learned that here very early on. You can watch all the videos that you want. I mean, when I was putting on the cold air intake box, when I was putting on the vinyl striping, when I was putting on the wing, you know, you can watch put on the brake lights. You can watch all the videos you want on how they install this and how they install that. And they are not going to show you the pitfalls. They are not going to show you that this part really is tough to get on, or you're going to need to really wrench this thing on. It looks like it goes on so easy in those videos. but it doesn't. None of this stuff fits well. Trust me on that, especially this cold air intake box. It was not easy, okay? I got it done, but it was not easy, okay? So please understand you need to give yourself time, okay? Understand that if you're going to put this thing on jacks, it's probably going to be on jacks for a few days, all right? So you need to understand that you're not going to be available to use this car, because the kind of things you're going to be working on, you're not going to be able to easily put it back together again if you have to use this car in an emergency. So make sure you get a second vehicle at hand. I have two vehicles right now, as you guys know. I have the BMW and I have this. And so I don't have to worry about transportation as this car sits on stand. So if I screw up, if I break something, I got to order a new part for it, you know, I'm okay, because I have another second way of getting around and taking care of things. But you know, this car is going to be up on jack stands, I believe, for several days. So we all have goals. I hope you have yours. For mine, it's now or never. So keep watching the videos, and I'll keep adding some more updates as we go along here on this race car build. I hope you guys are doing your race car builds right now as I am, and we'll knock them out together. Hope to see you on the track. All right.